Welcome back to the $1 million Tipping Point podcast. Today we have Lacey Sites on the show. So as a reminder, we're brought to you by the Tipping Jar of Wisdom, where as an email subscriber, you get access to exclusive content every Thursday straight to your inbox from our guests with actionable tasks on how to grow your business. So head over and connect with me on Instagram at Virtually Kiri or LinkedIn, Kiri Mohan, and sign up through my bio. And we also want you to share the podcast. So if you tag me when recommending the podcast, I'll be sure to respond. And if you're looking to start or grow your business, be sure to sign up for my monthly biz growth workshops. You can also find that in my Instagram bio. So Lacey, hello.
Hi.
Lacey Sites is a business mentor and success coach for high-performing women entrepreneurs and the co-CEO of Datable. She has her MS in mental health counseling and her MBA. She's worked as a therapist and the director of a large nonprofit and is the host of the Literally podcast. Lacey has grown her business to the seven-figure mark and helped many clients do the same using her signature mindset, strategy, and execution framework. It's her mission to help other women build and grow their own service-based business that truly lights them up and gives them the personal and financial freedom as well as impact they've always desired. So hello. And I do want to add, I just noticed that your bio didn't say that you have a lit up life, which seems to be your main business. And you have grown.
I feel like that's just, we just assume that's self-explanatory. Yeah.
Yes. Well, so Lacey runs a lit up life, which
Yes.
we'll be talking a lot about today, which is the business that that is in the seven-figure mark, and you help other women, create a lit up life with their business. So I love it. So let's just jump straight in. Talk to me about your different businesses, because you have more than one, but talk to me also about A Lit Up Life and what it's all about.
Yeah. So A Lit Up Life has been my main business for the last 7 years. We actually, Datable just launched last year. So it wasn't really even part of the $1 million tipping point. So it's worth noting that. But A Lit Up Life is a coaching business. I work exclusively one-on-one. And we have a revenue share model. So basically all my clients pay me a base rate and then 10% of new revenue we generate through our work together. So we were able to scale to $1 million by helping our clients make millions of dollars, which is a really cool thing that I'm super proud of, which is not just that our business made that, but that it's representing what our clients' businesses have made. So that is how we got to that point. I'm sure we'll dive into that more, but I feel like that context is important. I think a lot of people aren't used to hearing that someone, made $1 million off of one-on-one coaching. And so it feels important to be able to say that, because I know when I started, I really wanted to focus on one-on-one, but heard all of this feedback that there was no way to grow or scale with that. And I'm really excited that we found a way to do that. So yeah, that's what we do and what it looks like for us.
I do want to talk a little bit about that. I want to jump right in. So give me an example client. So a client that you're doing this one-on-one coaching and you do the 10% share with.
So basically, let's say they come to me, it depends, they come to me at different levels, but I'll just pick a client, came to me making almost nothing in her business. And through our work together over about 3 years, she was able to scale her business to about $1.5 million a year. So our share of that is 10% because she was at 0 when she came to us. And so each month she basically reports her revenue to us. We invoice her for 10% of that. And so some of our clients pay us quite a bit per month, but it's usually because they started with us, not really having a business, and we built it together over the years.
So if they are all service-based businesses, which it sounds like they are, are they doing one-on-one consulting too, or is it a real range? They could be, having retainer contracts or working with clients long-term. What do you have a specific client that seems to be more common within your business?
Actually would say it's not as common for people to do one-on-one. I think that most of my clients haven't. I have a couple that use a similar model to me, but not even because they came to me with that, but because they were a client and really enjoyed being a client of that model, and so shifted it. But I have clients that do all different kinds of things, whether it's you said, retainers or group programs or masterminds or, more VIP day kind of thing. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, and you can still incorporate some one-on-one, but yeah, I would say the vast majority aren't one-on-one focused.
So then if you have the 10%,
yeah,
at what point does does that go on for? Or does it just end when the client ends their agreement with you?
Exactly. It would end when the client ends the agreement. For me, that's the way that feels like really clean. It doesn't feel like now you're like indebted to me forever. It's like a choice for them, right? It's like, if you're here, that's what it looks like. And if you choose to end, like, obviously I don't like own part of your business or anything.
Right. So if you have this client who works with you for 3 years and she's liked working with you, then for those 3 years, you're still getting a little bit of a commission, basically.
Exactly.
And okay, interesting. I've never heard that. And I've been interviewing a lot of people. I've never heard that. And I saw all over your website, like, I do things differently.
Yeah.
I can't wait to dive into this. And one of the things you do differently, which I wasn't even really going to bring up, but your podcast, you record sessions with your clients and you put that on as a podcast.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
What I think is so different about that is I feel like some podcasts do record like one client session or something, but I think that it's just hard to get like the full picture with that. And so we actually record one client for 6 months. So all sessions with the same client for 6 months. And I think that that just gives people like a really solid picture of what actually goes on in coaching and what actually goes on behind the scenes. Cause I think it's just so easy to think that, you know, everyone else has their ish together and I don't, but when you can listen to someone be coached for 6 months, I think it's just so normalizing.
So talk to us a little bit about Datable then.
So Datable came because, what I really believe is that so many people in the online space are learning from everyone else's business, right? It's like, oh, so-and-so said Reels worked really well for her, so I should do that. Or so-and-so said, like Lacey said that this model helped her scale to 1 million, so I should do that. And what I really believe is that we should be learning from our own businesses. Like, we're not creating franchises. We should be learning from what is our business telling us? What is our audience telling us? And so at Datable, we help people build data dashboards that just help them learn from their business in a really like quick way. So it's like, you could look at your dashboard and see like, what are the number one traffic sources in your business? Like, where are your clients coming from? Where is your funnel going well? Where are people dropping off? Where is it leaking? Things that like so many small business owners don't even know they have access to. But when we show them this, all my clients get this program. And like, when they look at this, it's amazing what they're able to kind of glean from their business. And then as a coach, like, I can only coach the information a client can bring to me, right? So when a client can bring you like actual data of what's happening in their business, I feel like it makes me such a better coach because I can actually figure out like what's really going on, instead of like, you know, we've all had the experience where the client comes in and is just like, nothing's working. And you're like, but like, what does that mean? Right. So Datable is really kind of born on that principle of like, I love one-on-one work. I believe in personalization. And I think data is one of the only things that allows us to do that.
I have a story for that. Wow, pun, not intended, but my Instagram stories that do really well, I noticed, are like funny ones. Like, if I just take a meme that relates to my audience and put it on there, or I like posted myself once, like our electricity went out. My husband was freaking out. He's doing calls in the car and I was able to go down and just find the breaker. And he was like, I swear I looked at all the breakers. I just posted that funny story. Like, I rule, I figured it out and electricity is fine. So many views, so many reactions. And so then I started being like, I'm not naturally a funny person, but I have to start like,
there's something there.
Something there. People are liking the humor. Maybe it's a break. Like, maybe my audience is looking at stories all day of people's success lives or their kids or whatever. And then they see this and they're like, I love it. Like, yes. So that was a data point for me that I was like, why am I not doing this more? Clearly my stories should be humor focused because that is what's getting a lot of traction. So,
and it's so like nice because it's not personalized then, it's like data, right? Like, you're not like, oh, like, do they like me? Do they not like me? It's just like literally data. Like, oh, these do better. I could just do more of those. Like, it's amazing how it kind of like takes away all the mental chatter, you know?
Exactly. And I've been starting to do that also with data with my podcast and with just a bunch of things, just starting to say like, where I think for so long as a small business owner, and I'm sure you hear this, I just kind of like floated. Like, I think that went well. I think I did that right. Okay, then when you actually start doing like audits or you start looking at the data, you're like, like the stories, like more humor. Okay, got it. So I really like that
Absolutely.
you did that. So you said your co-CEO. So who is your other CEO?
Yeah. So my other CEO, her name's Jen Graham, and she's kind of like the mastermind behind like all of these dashboards and building them out. She actually had started the company before I stepped in. And so she kind of really is the one that has like the brains and the foundation behind all of this data stuff. And I kind of bring more of the like translation of that. Let's say we always call her the nerdy half. So I kind of bring like the translation of that, because I think that sometimes people are like so freaked out by numbers and all of that. And so Jen's really like our mastermind behind it, and I'm kind of here to be her translator.
I like it. I like it. So you work a lot on mindset. One of the questions I wanted to ask you is that, you said I created this MSC, which was the Mindset Strategy and Execution Framework, when the industry said you only picked one clear niche. And I was told I was crazy when I did it. And now they're everywhere. So talk to us a little bit about this MSE framework, because I know, oh my gosh, I know, just being in the online business world, everyone's talking about niche down, niche down, niche down. Yep. Find that one niche, find your ideal client. That's who you should market to. So yeah, talk to me a little bit about this MSC framework.
Yeah, totally. Like, I feel like, it's so, I believe in niching, right? Like, I believe you have to be specific, but I also think that there are like plenty of ways to do that. And I think that what was happening for me when I started my business was I was hearing all that too. And so I really niched into working on content with people. And the more I worked with clients, the more I was like, they need mindset, they need a good strategy, and they need a plan for execution. Like that, across the board, that's the only thing that matters. That's the stuff I'm seeing create success. And like, F it, like, I'm not going to pretend that that's not the thing. I'm just going to lean into that. And so it's like, that became my niche, right? Even though it's broad and even though it's like, oh, maybe you should just niche into mindset. It's like, what I'm really niching into is what I believe works. And like, my business transformed from there because I was just able to like back what I was selling in such a strong way. Because I really was like, every client I've worked with, these are the three components that I really see and believe that they need to create success. So it's just been really helpful. And now it's how I coach all my clients. Like, that's like the lens I use to look at everything through, really. And usually what I find is people want more of the thing they already have and are resistant to the other one. So it's like, if someone's a strategy person, like typically when they like hire me, they'll be like, okay, so I just like really need you to look at my strategy. And I'm like, your strategy is good. You need to work on your mindset, or vice versa. Like, if someone's really a mindset person, they'll hire me and be like, okay, something's got to be off with my mindset. I'm like, your mindset seems good, but you have absolutely no strategy in your business. So that's a problem, right? And so it's just like an easier way to kind of like solve the right problem in people's businesses, instead of them getting so into like solving the same problem over and over again.
And you actually got your MS in mental health counseling, yes, right? So did you learn a lot when you're getting your master's on mindset? Did that play into it?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I have my master's in mental health counseling, then I have an MBA. So I feel like I kind of had exposure to both sides of that. And so then I like wanted my business to represent that, because I really think both are important.
Can you talk to us a little bit how you even thought about a lit up life and how you got there through your journey?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'll try to like make a very long, windy road very short, but like, just to say it was a long and windy road. So if you're on that path, it's okay. That's normal. But basically I had another online business. You had briefly mentioned it. I did like vintage, new and used clothing resale, and really like enjoyed it, but kind of got to a point where I was like, I either need to figure out how to scale this, or I need to like figure out what I actually want to do with my life, kind of thing. And basically just sort of stumbled into the business coaching world and was like, oh my God, like, this is what I want to do. This is what combines everything that I love. It combines like the strategy piece that I'm like so fond of, and combines the mindset piece that I've like worked so hard on. And so it just kind of felt like one of those like, moments of like, there it is. But it wasn't like I like intentionally was like, oh, this is the perfect career for me, and I'm just going to fit. It was like through a many series of events, it just kind of revealed itself to me. And I just kept taking like one step. And then there it was.
What were these one steps? Because if you were doing the online clothing resale, that doesn't really translate into business coaching. Did you go out and get any kind of certification, or did you just like learn? Did you take courses? Like what were those one steps?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think so. Before I was doing that, I was actually a director of a large nonprofit. So I worked a lot in like service delivery and forecasting and strategy. And so had been doing like different things like that for quite some time. And when I left there, that's when I started the clothing business. And then in terms of like pivoting that to business coaching, I just felt like all my skills really fit there. Like I had all of the business backing and acumen. Like I had my MBA, I'd been doing different things like that for a while. I had the mindset stuff. So it just felt like, hey, this is stuff I really know I could help people with. And what I did initially was I just took on 3 clients for free. And was like, let me just see if I feel like I can help them and if I like make a difference. And yeah, I did. Like they had really good results. All of them ended up re-signing and paying me. And it kind of just snowballed from there. Like I was like, this is really something. And I really feel like I'm like doing what I'm supposed to be doing here.
How did you come up with the idea eventually to do the commission base?
That was one of those. So basically I had launched a group program because that's what like everyone says you have to do to scale, right? And I ran it, I think 3 times and was just like, I don't love this. Even when I was a therapist and in my internship, like I loved one-on-one therapy. And when I had to like run groups, I was like, like I could do it. It's just not where I'm like in my zone of genius kind of thing. So I ran these groups and I felt like exactly the same way. Like, it's not like I couldn't do it. It's just like not the place in my business that I was like lit up and excited and all of that. And so I kind of came to a point where I was like, you know what, if I make $250K off of one-on-one for the next 10 years or whatever in my business, like, fine, I'm just going to do that. Like, I'm happy to just decide I'm not going to be the one like scaling. And so I actually made that decision first. Like I was like, I'm committed to one-on-one. Like that's what I want to do. I'm not going to like do the stuff I don't feel lit up by just to like scale or make money. And then, you know, I just kept thinking like, there's gotta be another way, but I wasn't like pushing it or forcing it. Like one of the things I did in the nonprofit world a lot was like, think about how can we like re-engineer our service delivery models to make things more accessible for people. And so that was something I kind of always had in my mind in terms of one-on-one coaching is like, there's got to be a way. People really want one-on-one. How do we make this a little bit more accessible? And so it was just like always a floating thing. And then one day I was just taking a bubble bath and, you know, as you do when you're like away from your computer and like your brain is clear, I was just like, oh, I'll just charge a percentage. It just like landed and I put it into practice like, gosh, maybe 3 days later. And, I tested it for a little while first. Like I didn't pivot my whole business model to it. I took like just a few clients to test it for probably like a year and a half before I moved my whole business model to it.
Okay. So that would you recommend to your students then? You know, you talked about how you took on some clients for free in the beginning to see if you liked it. And then you kind of tested out the percentage thing to see if it works. Is that what you recommend to your students as well? Maybe to charge a lower price to see if they like it? Or do most of your clients, I guess not students, sorry, most of your clients, do they come to you already with like a pretty established business?
I really try to take on a mix. I really love working with like a mix of new people and established businesses. So definitely both. But if someone's new, I always recommend they take on a free client at first, or even if they're thinking about pivoting in their business, I always recommend like, what's the way that we can test this first? You know, I think like as small business owners, one of like the best things we have going for us is we're adaptable, right? We can move quickly, we can change things quickly, but that's not always in our best interest. Like sometimes you don't want to like sweeping change your whole business model or like build an entire business website offering suite if you don't even know you like it. So I do think that there's really something to like, can we test it? Can we try a free client? Can we make sure you like it? And like really getting someone that their feet wet before they like dive into the deep end.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I know that when I used to coach virtual assistants a long time ago. And I always said to try to, you know, like if you can lower your rates and you're financially stable enough to do that for some of them, try to do that, test it out. Say, you know, you're trying something new, you're doing a new thing, and then always try to see if you can get testimonial from it as well. Cause then at least you're getting something in return you're also
Totally.
learning your business and what you can do and what you like and what you don't like. But there's also some like real hard proof there with the testimonial. So I agree with that. I know I've interviewed some people who like say don't do that at all, but I'm on your page with that. When you think about how you were at that $250,000 and you're like, I'm okay with that, or whatever it was, one-on-one coaching, and you then implemented the commission,
Mhm.
the 10%. Was that the only step that grew your business to $1 million, or were there other steps in there that you think had a big impact on growing your business to 7 figures?
I mean, from a purely financial standpoint, that is what did it, is the revenue share. Like I didn't do anything drastically different. I mean, like there might have been a few small things, like maybe I think the first year I hit $1 million, I think I did like a couple in-person VIP days, or like, you know what I mean? Like little things like that, but there was nothing else, product suite wise or anything like that, that got us to $1 million besides adding that revenue percent.
Okay. So do you have a team with you right now? Do you
I
have
do.
contractors
Yes.
or employees?
All contractors.
All contractors. Okay. Talk to us a little bit about how big your team is.
Yep.
First of all.
We have 6 people. So we have, I have like a COO who's like my right-hand woman. I always call her the wind beneath my wings. Like she's amazing and couldn't do it without her. And then we just have like very specialized, you know, like we have like a graphic designer, we have like a tech person, we have like a customer service VA, we have an accountant, we have a web like designer kind of architect, like things like that, where it's like they're all like very much in their sort of like specialized niche. We have a podcast editor and producer, and then Megan, who's my COO, kind of like oversees and interfaces with everybody.
What do you think the percentage is of how much of your income goes to your team?
I would say, I'm trying to think, I probably could tell you this number almost exactly, but in terms of like our expenses versus revenue, I would say probably like 15 to 20% is team.
What are some mistakes or challenges you've had when growing your team?
Oh gosh. When I first started my business, I hired and fired probably like 5 or 6 virtual assistants at the beginning, which was like wildly embarrassing to me because my concentration with my MBA was ethical leadership. So I was like, I should be a good leader. Why is this so hard? But, you know, like after you're on your 5th person, you kind of have to be like, maybe it's me, you know?
So how was it you?
Yeah. And I think what was me was that I was not clear what I wanted. And so it was very hard for someone else to be clear what I wanted. And so when Megan and I found each other, I think I had finally gotten to the point in my business where I was very clear and very willing to communicate that more effectively. You know, I think like at the beginning, I was like trying to be everyone's friend. And now Megan and I are very, very dear friends, but that like evolved over time, where what really like I think solidified things working was me being willing to like give the hard feedback, share what I wanted, instead of like not quite share what I wanted, really try to like be someone's friend and then like be like, this isn't working, forget it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I've been through it. So yes, It does make sense.
Yep.
What advice do you have for people who are looking to hire more or just grow their team in general?
I would say like hire before you think you're ready. I think it's so hard to hire once you like really need it. I think you're already drowning by that point, and it's really easy to do what I did, which is like not be clear and just pull someone in and be like, here's all the things, right? Versus like really systematically be able to like onboard, train, all of that kind of stuff. So I would definitely say like hire before you think you're ready. I feel like our industry is so focused on like pay for coaching support. And I do obviously believe in that, but like team support is really going to make or break your ability to scale. And so hiring before you're ready, I think is so important.
And team support is one of those, I don't want to say overlooked. That's not a good word for it, but it's like you said, it's ignored. It's ignored.
I totally agree.
It's ignored. And it's like, whenever I'm talking to people about, you know, their businesses or 7-figure businesses and how they grew, and they're always like, I have my team. I wouldn't be able to do it without my team, but it's so hard to get the right team.
Yep, totally. And, I think it's just so easy because like the marketing for coaching or programs or whatever is so much more compelling sometimes than the marketing for like, team support, but it really is like the backbone of what you're doing.
So did you need to change your mindset in order to grow from 6 figures to these 7 figures?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, especially with the revenue share, like almost like, I think it sounds kind of eye rolly unless you're in it, but like being willing to let a client pay me like $10,000 a month, right? I had to really get my brain around that. I mean, even though in theory it makes sense, right? Like I helped you go from whatever, like 0 per month to 100K per month. Like, of course, at that point, 10% is 10K. But yeah, like just being able to get my brain on board with like receiving that, holding that, being able to like still serve the client without feeling like I have to like jump through hoops for them now because they're paying a certain amount. Like I had a lot of mindset work to do around that.
Mm-hmm. I think anyone does whenever they're raising their prices or even doing something different with their business. I know if I was in your position, I was just thinking how I would feel. I think I would feel like, well, I didn't really do anything for it, even though obviously you did, right? But like when you have like a base price and a commission, it feels like, oh, and if you're not naturally in sales and used to this structure, like some salespeople are, I think it's just automatically like, but I'm not deserving of it. I don't know. It's just like free money, but it's not free money.
Exactly. And yeah, you just have to like do your work because it's like almost like the model is working now. And I have to like have my mindset in a place that can back that,
Mm-hmm. How do you balance, do you think, spending money and making money? Where do you think your best investments have been? And what do you think your worst investments have been?
I think so one thing that I did early on in my business, once I moved to this revenue share model that really helped me is I based my expenses off of just our base rate and not our revenue share. So that's been really helpful because it was like, it kind of just kept me in check, right? Like it was like, okay, you have this much as a base rate. Obviously, revenue share is going to fluctuate based on what clients are making if someone's launching that month, if they're not. So it kind of just gave me this like simplistic way to budget in the business, which was nice. I think some of my best investments have for sure been in team. Like my COO by far is the best investment I've made in my business. She's obviously like the bulk of our team expenses and is worth every penny because it's like what helps me do what I'm doing, right? Like if I have a one-on-one business model, I have to be on one-on-one calls frequently. And so she's, running behind the scenes. So by far best investment was that. I think worst investment, this is just like a silly story, but I think we've all probably done something like this, but like you hear when I first started out, I kept hearing like all the ways you're supposed to sell or all these like sales scripts you're supposed to use or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, these like feel so bad to me. I do not want to sell like this. I must be doing something wrong. Like I have to figure out what I'm doing wrong in business because like none of this feels good to me. It must be me kind of thing. So I like signed up for this sales course. And it like in the like welcome module or whatever, the first thing she has you do is calculate your conversion rate. And I calculated my conversion rate and I was like, oh my God, it's like 90 to 100%. I'm not doing anything wrong. Why did I just spend $3,000 on this sales course? But like, how hysterical is that? Like, I was making plenty of sales and I was like having a good conversion rate, but it was like, I didn't think I was doing it the right way compared to everyone else. And so anyway, I never like even went past that module in that course. So like not funny. The best investment because it just like, I was just telling myself a story. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And sales is hard. And I know what you mean. I actually interviewed a woman on my podcast whose whole business is teaching women to sell.
Yeah.
And I totally got bought in like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm not doing this right. Maybe I'm not, maybe I should sign up for her course. Like, and
yeah.
Like, I'm totally fine. I'm 100% fine. Like it's not an issue. How do you think you try to stand out from your competitors or other coaches out there?
I think the revenue thing has been a really easy way to stand out because I think people really like what I call it is the partnership model. Because it feels like we're partners in your business. It's not like you just pay me and then hopefully you get results. It feels like like I make money if you make money, like we're in it together. And so I think that's been an easy way to stand out. And I think when a lot of people hire me, they say things like, I really want that partner. I really want someone in it with me. And it feels like this is that in a different way. And so I think that has been something that's really like helped us stand out a lot, build like a super engaged wait list, that kind of stuff. Cause they think people want that type of service that they're just not seeing anywhere else.
How many clients can you take on at once?
We usually have about, I would say like 22, give or take a little bit.
And what does your model consist of in terms of how often you meet with them?
3 times a month.
Okay. So that, I mean, how many hours a week are you working?
I think my like literal like on call time is like, well, it's hard to say because I also factor in like team meetings, COO meetings. So like my on call time would probably be like 19 hours a week.
Okay.
But again, that's like everything. Like I do a weekly live stream, I do a podcast. So that's like in there too, but yeah.
What do you think is one of the biggest challenges you've had or mistakes you made while growing your business?
I think the thing that I have learned along the way is like my own intuition has never led me wrong when I have chosen not to listen to that in favor of listening to other people. I think that has led me wrong, and not because they were bad or wrong, but because like, I think anytime we're choosing like someone else's opinion over what our gut is telling us, we're not going in the right direction. And so I feel like, yeah, the biggest mistakes I've made have typically been when it was like, yeah, let me listen to someone else over what my gut is telling me. And like the biggest wins have always been when I just like an example is when I decided to do the revenue share thing, a lot of the feedback I got was like, what a terrible idea that was.
I wonder why though, like, but why? Because now when you explain it, I'm like, that makes sense.
I think so much of the feedback was like, people are going to not be truthful about their revenue. It's going to be hard to collect on that, blah, blah, blah. Like it's going to be, clients aren't going to like want to give 10%. Like, it was just like the stuff of like, nobody's done it before. So of course there are like things like that. But yeah, like I doubled down on my gut at that point and it has really paid off. And so, yeah, I think it's just always like when I have like, stepped out of listening to my own intuition.
And have you ever had a client unhappy? And if so, how did you handle that?
Yeah, for sure. Listen, I think anyone that's been in business for like, I've been in business for 7 years, right? Like, I think that everyone is going to have an unhappy client. And so just to normalize that, but yeah, I for sure have. I mean, obviously I don't want to go into the specific details and I know you're not asking me that, but, what I will say is that I held like a really, really hard boundary on something and a client was super upset about that. And what was really cool is about 2 years later, she sent me an email and was like, hey, I was so pissed at you at the time, super hated you. One of the best things that happened to me in retrospect. And I like really appreciate that you held that boundary. And so like, I'm not saying all client things resolve like that, but I think it is one of those things where sometimes like it does come back around if you're willing to sort of like do the hard thing in the moment.
2 years later, that's
2 years. Yeah.
I mean, that's great that they even emailed you.
I know, right?
Because some people would be like, think the thought, oh yeah, I'm really glad that she held her, held her ground there and then just move on with her life. But the fact that they emailed you, that's really nice.
Yeah. Super cool. Very, very appreciated.
What would you say is a percentage of women? That's not the right way to phrase this. What do you think most women, how much do they grow their business during their time with you? It doesn't have to be a percentage. I thought that's where I kind of screwed up, but it's like, do you think most women are like gone from 0 to a 300K in a year? Most women go from 300 to $1 million in a year. Like, what's that ratio with working with you?
I mean, gosh, I've had clients that just run the gamut. So it just feels important to be honest about that. Like I've had a client go from 0 to $1 million in 9 months. And I've had a client work with me for 6 months and not make money. Like, I really think it depends. I would say by and large, on the whole, I think my clients get amazing results. We've taken several people from 0 to 1 million. But also my clients work with me for quite some time. Like a lot of my clients have been working with me for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So sometimes those results compound over time. So I think that's important to say, like the client I mentioned that made nothing in our first 6 months, now she makes about $1.5 million a year, but like, it just took more time. And so I think that's important to say too, is like, I think like results, like of course happen because you get great coaching, but I think they're also a direct result of like staying in it and being willing to like take the steps and let it grow. So yes, it's working with me in part, but it's also staying in it long enough to actually see those come to fruition.
Do you have any kind of service-based business that's more common than others in your clients?
I would say coaching for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much do you charge? Or does that depend on the client and how much they're making?
No, well, yes and no. So it's 1,250 a month is the base rate. So that basically, it's almost like the way I think about it is the base rate is like for my time and my team's time, right? So it's like 1,250 a month base rate for everybody. And then 10% of new revenue on top of that. So that means some clients might be paying, like 10,000 a month, and some clients might pay 0 that month. It really just depends.
What do you discuss with them every month? Like what kind of homework? Homework, that's a bad word. You know, what kind of work do you do with them and that they also have to do on their own?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think like all of it's on their own to a certain extent, right? And I think it's important to say that we can do great things in coaching sessions. I'm like super active. We use something called Basecamp. I'm like super, super active in Basecamp in between sessions. After every session, I give my clients to-dos from that session. I put them in our project management system so that they like weren't just like, great session, now what? But they actually like know, what were your to-dos? What did we talk about today? And the to-dos can range from everything. Like I've given homework that's like, do nothing this week and actually like relax, right? To like, go like rework your whole funnel this week. Like things need to get fixed. So it really just depends, but it's like completely bespoke to the person and what they need. And then especially it changes in seasons. Like I said, many clients have been working with me for a long time. So it's like, there might be a season where they have like a lot less to-dos. There might be a season where they have a lot more. It really just depends on where they're at.
And do they come to you with specific goals? Maybe not even all monetary. Like I have this goal. First time I'm saying this actually on the air, but I would like to work towards having a summer vacation.
Oh, I love that.
I loved summer vacations as a kid. Just loved it.
Yes.
That feeling of like, that's my last day. And then like building up to like going back to school or whatever. So that is just this goal I have with my business. I am not even close yet, but it's something that's on my mind that's like in there. So do people ever come with that kind of stuff? Like, how can I build my business?
Yes.
So I take a summer vacation, or I take all December off. I know that's like a thing that's been going around. I saw at the end of last year.
Yes, totally. A lot of my clients have goals like that. One of them, she's in the UK. So I think it's a little bit different, but like her child has like a couple weeks off every few months or something. And so she's kind of like, her goal is like to build her business around being able to take a couple weeks off every few months. Or like, I've had quite a few clients that have come to me with a goal of like planning for maternity leave. So yeah, different things like that for sure.
I love it. Well, if I work with you, it's going to be summer vacation.
Summer vacation. I love that.
So, where do you plan to grow your business from here?
I honestly don't really plan to change anything at this moment. Like I really like revenue share. I really like how it's going. And it feels good for me to be able to double down on that. We have a really extensive wait list for one-on-one spots right now. And so I feel like really blessed to just like nurture that wait list, really keep dialing it in with my clients, keep helping them make more revenue. And I just see that like our business will continue to grow from there.
How do you choose from the wait list? Are you one of those people that's like, you go to the next person and then the next person and the next person, or is it like a raffle, or is it like, how do you choose?
To be super honest, I actually hate it. Because I hate feeling like choosing, like, I don't know, it's weird, right? But I also don't think it makes sense to go in order, because there might be people on our wait list who like also have a coach and like will say yes to the spot at the right time. But maybe if they were like number 2 on the list, that wasn't the right time in their life or business. And I don't want them to feel like, okay, now you're kicked off, or like now or never kind of thing. So the way we do it is just like, when we have a spot, we email the wait list, we say like, put your applications in, and then I just narrow it down based on application and who I think I can help the most at any given time.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I like that.
But yeah, it's imperfect, but we're working on it.
Have you ever thought about selling your business or having an exit plan?
I really haven't. Like I kind of had like the dream job when I was like young and in the nonprofit world. And I remember just always thinking like, oh my God, if this is the dream job, like what the heck am I doing with the rest of my life? Because this does not feel like a dream. And now I just never like I really feel like I've created like the business and the job that feels best to me. And so like if I exited, I would rebuild like the same thing kind of, so it's not really a thing.
What advice do you have for other women as they grow their business and want to hit the 7 figures? And I'm sure you have a lot of advice.
The biggest thing that I would say is like, build a business that you love enough to stay in it long enough that you can get to that point. Like, yes, can you get there fast? Sure. Like I said, I had a client get there in 9 months, but that's an outlier. That's not the norm, right? And I think that the reason I was able to hit 7 figures in my business is because I loved it so much that I felt like I was like a millionaire before I was, right? Like, and I loved it enough to keep doing the same stuff for 5 or 6 years before that money came. And I think that's what we get confused, right? It's like, I'll work super hard and do whatever someone tells me to so that I can hit the financial goal. Then I'll figure out what I want. Then I'll do it how I like. And I've worked with enough people to know that like, I'll fix it once I'm making X is broken. And it's so hard to do that. Like I had a client come to me who was making about $600K a year and hated absolutely every single thing about her business. And like, I cannot tell you how hard that is to unwind.
What did you do? Now I'm curious. Like, does she have the same business now that she had when she came to you?
No. I mean, right. So it's like
really, not at all. Like, cause you can like tear apart the infrastructure.
Yeah, I guess to a certain extent. I mean, like there are like traces of it, but it has evolved extensively. Like, it had to, but I think like build it how you want it, build it in a way you enjoy, build it in a way you love, because then you don't want to have to tear it down when you get there.
All right, share with us, where can we find you? Your website? Do you have anything you want to offer our audience? Anything like that?
Yes, absolutely. So you can find me at alituplife.com. You mentioned the podcast, which is called Literally. Rob Lowe started a podcast called Literally, like a month after mine. So it's going to be like number 2 or 3 if you search it under Rob Lowe. But yeah, I have a podcast called Literally. Yeah, if you're interested in the data part that I was talking about, if you go to getdatable.com, we have just a free metrics generator that can help you start to figure out how to use data and access the data in your business. So that's a great place to dive into.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I know what you mean about the podcast. Like when I started this podcast, it was so funny. I was like, okay, I want to interview, women entrepreneurs who have made it to 7 figures, to help 6-figure business owners, like, and all walks of different businesses. I really want to go. And then I slowly started, like, I did my research. There wasn't anything out there. And then someone else who's a big name, I won't say who they are, but they started it. And it was actually not, it was even, the title was like a little off. Like you wouldn't automatically think the title had to do with like women entrepreneurs. So I was pretty annoyed by that. So I feel like, because now I'm like, it looks like I copied her, but like actually mine was on a little bit before hers.
And then it's like, I'm always like one under Rob Lowe in all the searches. I'm like, come on, guys. You can't beat Rob Lowe. So
no. What is one philosophy, mantra, or quote that you try to run your business by?
Oh gosh. I mean, this is like such a cheesy one, I think, but it's like that Zig Ziglar quote, which is like, you'll get all you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. Like, I feel like that's what I based like my revenue share model on, my like business philosophy on. Like, I think if I can help my clients get more of what they want, like I know that I will continue to grow.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me here, Lacey.
Thank
I really, really
you.
appreciate it. And for our audience, if you're listening and you found this informative or even valuable, just do us a little favor and help grow the show by sharing it. Maybe someone who will really find Lacey's interview inspiring, and they also want to grow their business like hers. So just open their podcast app on their phone and they'll thank you for it. Share it. And you can find me on LinkedIn or tag me on Instagram at virtually Curie. Thanks so much, Lacey.
Thank you.